Hello and welcome to Encore, the arts and culture program here on Volkswagen Cat. Coming up.
Hello, I am Darren Aronofsky on France 24.
We sit down with the director to talk about his latest film, biblical epic Noah, his decision to cast Russell Crowe as the lead, and his inclination to make films about obsessive characters. Plus, it may be a picture book, but the harrowing tale it tells is very much real. We meet the former French journalist who depicted the horrors of the Rwandan genocide in a graphic novel. And breaking down barriers one dance step at a time. International ballroom champion Pierre Dulaine brings Palestinian and Jewish children together the best way he knows how. First, it's a tale almost as old as time, but thanks to some CGI wizardry, it's been brought to life like never before. However, as epic as director Darren Aronofsky's version of Noah is, it's received mixed reception. It inspired a graphic novel, and many critics have sung its praises. But it's also sparked controversy, with several countries banning it for depicting a prophet, while some religious groups have called it inaccurate. We caught up with the director and asked him why he decided to bring the biblical tale to the big screen.
It begins.
No. What did he say?
He's going to destroy the world.
Well, it all started really when I was 13 and I wrote a poem in English class about peace, and it turned out it was a poem about Noah, and I ended up winning a contest. So as soon as I got to Los Angeles, after I made P, I started to think about, could I possibly bring Noah to the big screen? Well, they happened kind of simultaneously. Nico Henriksen, the artist, was sort of based on a slightly different script. What's cool about the graphic novel is that it's different than the movie. It's first of all, it's Nico's interpretation, and second of all, it's an older script. The script changed quite a bit since he started drawing. So, for people who like the movie or like the graphic novel, when they go see the movie or read the graphic novel, it'll be a different experience. There's very few people on the planet who could pull this off. The thing about Russell is everything he says is truthful. And in a world filled with miracles, it was important to get someone who was grounded in a real reality and very dignified, and that was something Russell brought.
An ark to hold the innocent when the Creator sends his deluge to wipe out the wicked from this world.
Return to your cities of Cain. No, we have all been judged.
I have men at my back, and you stand alone and defy me?
I'm not alone. I don't think, and that's one of the cool things about this, is there is no honor in that job, That's the worst job you could possibly get.
It's very, very typical in Islamic culture not to represent the prophets on film, and so we had a feeling that this was going to come, so we were not surprised. I don't know. That's a very hard question. It's just characters that I believe in and that I'm passionate about, and then it's just about bringing them to life. I don't think there's anything really specific about why these, it's not like it's preconceived. I just sort of start working on the characters, and that's how they come to life.
he never stops directing. Even if it's a really, really long night and really cold and tough conditions and blah, 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 you know, and other elements that may make it extremely uncomfortable. He never stops actually directing, he never stops talking about, you know, the thing that you're pushing towards. So even when he's got something that he really likes, he still wants to talk about the opportunities to make that even more refined and even more specific.
Right, that's fine, where David is.
You shall wear it when you find Eden. You live forever.
The Black Swan stole your love.
Well, from a film that inspired a graphic novel to a comic book based on real-life events now. Frenchman Patrick de Saint-Exupéry was a reporter for the French daily newspaper Le Figaro at the time of the Rwandan genocide. Now, 20 years after the tragedy, he's released a comic book called The Fantasy of Gods, based on the horrors he saw and heard. Mariam Saab reports.
Set in the Élysée, the opening scenes from Fantasy of Gods has journalist and author Patrick Saint-Exupéry suggesting the French government at the time knew more than it would admit and did less than it should.
In 1994, a genocide occurred in Rwanda, a genocide that constitutes a crime against humanity. A crime that would have only been committed by the state under the watch of other states.
Au moment où se produisent les événements du Rwanda, François Mitterrand était au Oradour-sur-Glane.
At the time that the events were beginning in Rwanda, François Mitterrand was at a memorial in France, in Oradour-sur-Glane, marking the 50th anniversary of the massacre there. And he said, never again. But all the while, he knew what was happening in Rwanda.
A picture book it may be, but the harrowing tale is a real one. For Saint-Exupéry, the story grew like a phoenix from the ashes of genocide.
Tonight, we are going to attack the evildoers.
And it was while covering Operation Turquoise Rwanda in 1994 that the famed journalist found the inspiration for the words and images that lay among these pages. 20 years later, he returned to the scene of what's known as the crime of crimes with illustrator Hippolyte.
In 1994, I was 17 years old. It's that age when you start watching the news and want to know more about the world around you. I knew there was a war in Africa, an ethnic war. When Patrick shared his recollections with me in Rwanda, I was able to comprehend the situation on another level.
Saint-Exupéry and Hippolyte chose to paint the big picture of the Rwandan genocide with smaller events, like the story of Bisero Hill. It was here, on what became known as the Revolutionary Hill, that tens of thousands of Tutsis gathered to resist their killers, but most perished at the hands of extremist Hutus. Beneath these hills, Tutsi victims are buried in mass graves. Saint-Exupéry says his story is meant to take us back to Rwanda in the midst of turmoil and ask the questions that have been lost across time.
Well, from a comic book depicting the horror of ethnic divisions to a novel idea on how to overcome political and cultural differences. World champion ballroom dancer Pierre Dulaine had a dream to see Jewish and Palestinian children come together. He did this the best way he knew how, through dance. But it proved more challenging than he anticipated, and director Hilaire Medalia captured his journey in her film Dancing in Jaffa. Olivia Salazar-Winspear has more.
I was born in Jaffa, but we left when I was 4 years old. And what I can give back to children is ballroom dancing.
Pierre Dulaine hadn't set foot in his hometown for 66 years. He left Jaffa with his Palestinian parents after the creation of the Israeli state. As an adult, he became an international champion in ballroom dancing, living all over the world. But Pierre returned to the Middle East 2 years ago with one very special project in mind.
We need to have your children dance with children from another school. Palestinian and Jewish children together.
May I have this dance, please?
A gargantuan task that Pierre took in his stride, convinced that these children from different communities could come together through dance.
For the Muslims, it was extremely difficult because the girls don't dance with boys. We had a chat with the parents, and then, yes, it was okay.
For 3 months, Pierre and the film crew went from school to school in Jaffa, meeting Jewish, Arab and mixed classes of children.
It was incredible for me to realize to what extent the two communities are separated. The fact that Ala and many other children in his school don't speak Hebrew.
The team behind Dancing in Jaffa came to Paris to show their film to the locals.
Very good. I liked it a lot.
It was really moving. He's Jewish, I'm Muslim.
And we're really good friends.
Fostering open-mindedness and tolerance through ballroom dancing, Pierre Dulaine's project has made a real breakthrough in Jaffa and beyond.
That brings us to the end of this show. Remember, you can get more on any of the stories we've mentioned and watch all our programmes again on our website. Also, don't hesitate to get in touch with your questions and comments on our social networks. Until next time, Culture Vultures.